5 South African online bankers have been victims of fraud, and 62% of them have been targeted by cyber criminals at some point over the past 2 years. South Africa also sits in third place when it comes to leading cybercrime hotspots on the planet. Now, as the holiday shopping season is here, we are joined today in Cape Town by Johan Dekker, who's the COO of the secure online paying service PayU, who talks to us about what you can do to not fall victim to internet scams. Very good morning to you, Mr. Dekker. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, everyone, and good morning to your viewers out there. I appreciate the opportunity to educate the viewers out there in South Africa related to cybercrime and how they can stay safe over this holiday season.
Firstly, so I want to ask you, it's worrying to see that we rank third globally as a cybercrime hotspots. Can you sort of put us into the picture why that is?
I think there's a couple of factors that are contributing to us being number 3 after Russia and China. I think if you look at it, we've got a very young internet population. A lot of people in the last couple of years have come online using mobile devices and tablets to access social networks. So we've seen a strong drive of usage in social networks like Twitter and Facebook, apps, WhatsApp, WeChat, and so forth. And I think it's a lot about educating these users that what to do online to be safe. I think it's not a difficult type of items they need to do to ensure that they're safe, and we can go through that.
Now, just before we get into that, tell us a little bit about this report, the Norton Cyber Crimes Report, the Columbus findings. What did the survey find? So
it's in the 4th year that the reports come out. They typically survey about 13,000 people. So it's quite an extensive report. It's the findings. I think we can tackle on 4 fronts. The first is a global view. Daily, about 1 million users get hit by cybercrime or impacted. We're looking at in excess of 100 billion US a year in terms of cybercrime. And if you look at it, 66% of millennials versus 54% of baby boomers gets impacted. This just speaks again to the social networking presence of these users and how they relate to mobile phones. If we look at the mobile phone users, what's interesting that most users report that they mobile phones through the night is an arm reach of them, 1 and 2, where only 1 and 2 of these users make use of any security features on their phones in terms of password protecting access to their phone or installing any security software. This is quite alarming. Coupled with the rate that about 37% of these users, adult users, reported their phones to be stolen, giving access to quite sensitive data that users normally have on their phones.
Now, it's festive season and shopping time, and people have got a little bit of extra money to spend, but it's also a time when fraudsters are looking to up their game. What advice would you give to consumers out there, to the man in the street, in protecting themselves against this?
Yeah, it's quite a worrying trend. We've even seen the sophistication of these fraudsters increasing, where previously they would have made use of typical smash and grab type tactics, come in and steal as much as they can. These days, they are patient. They would set up the attack way in advance, infiltrating network or PCs of users or mobile devices. And then in times like this, when users' attention is distracted, they would activate the programs or start to attack, start the attacks also on the e-commerce sites when the e-commerce sites are busy. So I think from a user's perspective, to safeguard themselves online and on the mobile devices is first and foremost, look at your device. Is it a device you can trust? So if it's not a trusted device, not your own device, then don't store sensitive data or do sensitive like banking transactions on the device. If it's your own device, ensure that you've got a password protected, ensure you've got security software installed, and keep the device close to you. Secondly, if you look at passwords, a lot of the users' passwords are still 1, 2, 3, which is an easy pickings for fraudsters. Use strong passwords. Strong password, typically a password where you would make use of a combination of uppercase, lowercase, alphanumeric characters, and even special characters to protect yourself. There's also then how you interact with other people. What data do you share with whom? Ensure that the sites that you access are secure. Most sites that are secure will also have to be security protected. Look for at the top in the URL HTTPS protected. Then similar in terms of emails that you receive or links. Don't click on links on sites. Rather, type in the site and visit the site yourself so you don't end up on a site that's been subject to phishing and your data gets phished by the fraudsters. So I think there's a lot of very easy steps a user can take to ensure that they're protected while they're online.
Now, once you fall victim to this kind of crime, what can you do and where should you go for help?
I think the first thing to do if you fall victim to crime, and cybercrime spans quite a wide variety of crimes, is contact the merchant, the trusted merchant, and see how you can deal with that merchant. If the merchant or the site that you're dealing with is not trustworthy and you've suffered fraud, transactional fraud, contact your financial institution. They've got excellent helplines that can assist you in resolving the crime and assist you with contacting the police and registering a case with the police. Last step is you can go to insurer. I think also a lot of users need to understand that when they use their credit or debit cards online, they're entitled to a chargeback, basically contacting the financial institution and asking them to press the chargeback where they were subject to a fraudulent transaction.
When we talk about cybercrime, can you maybe point out what are the things that people should be on the lookout for, and what would be suspicious behavior on behalf of people you interact with online?
So I think there's a couple of types of cybercrime, how the criminals try to get hold of sensitive information. The one is social networking related cybercrime, where people tend to make friends on social networks they don't know. From the Norton report, around 32% of the users said they're making friends with unknown entities to them. And in that case, I would suggest that users only make friends with whom they're familiar with. That's one way to protect them against social cybercrime. I've addressed in terms of the point related to password protection, how to ensure that you password protected. I think users can also look at many ways to protect themselves in terms of devices, what they install in the devices, not to be subject to cybercrime. A good mechanism to secure they transacting online is safe is to enable through their financial institution mobile notifications, where you are notified of all your transactions, monitor those transactions, monitor your statements that you get from your banks to ensure there's no suspicious behavior. And if you pick up any suspicious behavior, report that to your financial institution.
What is the most common mistake you think that consumers make when they do business online?
I think the most common mistake is that they end up on the wrong sites, that they buy from the wrong merchants or people. I think they need to be very careful to only go to trusted sites. I think that's a very good starting point.
Mr. Dekker, thank you very much for joining us today. That's the COO of the secure online paying service PayU. He says you have to make sure that you buy from reputable online sites. You've got to have a very good password, not just lowercase or 1, 2, 3, 4. And make sure that the people that befriend you on Facebook and other social sites, that you actually know them. We all make that mistake. I think everybody wants to have as many friends because it's become something that we boast about these days.